A monumentous day in the history of the triple option today, Garrett.
That it is.
It is. It's a very big day. I can't see myself on this monitor.
I thought I turned that on. I'll be over there in a second.
Okay. I only see the backdrop. But in case you're wondering, we have finally become, equality has come here. We have our first female co-host, which I feel weird saying, but the Susan B. Anthony of the triple option. It's Faith Lynch. So let's give ourselves a pat on the back for equality of the triple option. No, I'm happy to have Faith here. Faith is a now former Baylor volleyball player, just as of about a month ago. And so she wants to become a sideline reporter, and she interned here. She knows a ton about sports. And I thought, you know what? We talk about college sports all the time. And we've never had an ex-college athlete as a co-host here. I know people look at me and think like, oh, he definitely ran the 100. But Faith, I'm so happy to have you here. I'm glad you were here a couple years ago. Yeah. And then you've kind of, because volleyball takes up a ton of time, we've seen you kind of intermittently. But glad to have you back here. You're in Waco for at least the next little while, trying to get your feet wet in your career. So happy to have you here. I'm hoping you'll be here quite a bit. So let's start off first with it's kind of good timing, and I didn't know this at all when we talked last week, but the last day to file house settlement paperwork is tomorrow.
Yep. And
you actually just did that.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to kind of get your ideas of what it's like being a college athlete in this era of, it used to be a little bit more straightforward where you committed to a place, you went to school, you didn't make any money, you stayed at that place, and if you wanted to go to another place, you could, but there were restrictions on it.
Right.
But now it's wide open. From your perspective as an athlete, what is all that like right now?
Yeah, well, first, just thank you for having me on. I'm so excited to be here. It feels good to be back in the studio and starting a new chapter. But yeah, college athletics, I think, is changing a lot. I came in that 21 year, so I was that first group of athletes to kind of experience this NIL, whatever. I'm a sixth generation Baylor Bear, so I see college athletics a little different maybe than some people I was excited to join a team and be a part of something big and committed and all those things. And now that's changing with NIL. So I think it's good. I think it can benefit the athlete. Obviously, you're working hard, doing a lot of things. You're all over the media. Your face and name is branded everywhere. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it'd be nice to get some money, get some cash for that. I did turn in my paper yesterday, which is interesting. They give you like an estimate of what you may get, which is kind of nice to see. I'm like, maybe I'll get something. And so I was surprised. I was like, oh, okay, like I'm going to get some money back, hopefully. I don't know. I just think it's a lot. I think it's throwing in a big wild card that creates a lot of uncertainty for people. Like you said, you commit to a place and you want to go there and create something, and then you have a lot of distraction. I think it's making coaches' jobs a lot harder of trying to get a kid a junior in high school, and she's already asking about NIL and what she can get when she hasn't even stepped foot on campus. So that's tough.
That also to me has got to be a thing on the parents though, right? Yeah. Where like, look, you're going to get NIL and you have to ask the question.
Right.
But there's a way to ask it about, okay, what are my NIL opportunities? Like, can you tell me about the collective and the things just so I know?
Yeah.
Because that's financially responsible.
Right.
But what can I get for NIL exactly is not the question you should be asking. I think in a lot of regards, I think that's a little bit, to me, it's inappropriate.
I agree.
Now you should, there should always be a thing, but like, do you have a school that offers like Texas Tech does for football, where every player gets a baseline? How are you going to distribute that? Those are all things that are valid questions, but that doesn't need to be your decision on where you go to school. No, I don't think at all, because you're going to get something wherever you go. And especially if you're not playing football or basketball, like, you're not going to make life-changing money.
No, you're not.
Yeah,
you're just not.
Or you're Livy Dunn. I mean, there are only a couple ways to make the life-changing money. You have to have this massive social media following, which very few juniors in high school have.
Exactly.
Right. And so I think that's kind of maybe on educating the parents of this.
Yeah.
But I've seen this for years, even when recruiting wasn't this way. You have the biggest problem I see is not really the kids, it's the people around them. Because if you have really good parents that understand the whole thing, and I'll just give the example, Andrew Billings, played football here at Baylor.
Yeah.
Was in the NFL, had just a great year with the Bears this year, actually. But Andrew is from Waco. He went to Baylor. I know his parents very well. And they knew their kid to say, like, listen, you're not committing on campus because we know, like,
all the fields.
The recruitment is designed to make you excited. Mm-hmm. Every place is going to do that. So you have to really think about when you go there and there's not a whole show for you.
Yeah.
There's not a whole thing that's put on when you walk in, and they're not going to take you out to steak every night. Yeah. They're not going to do these things. They want you to come here and they're going to make you feel welcome, but that's like a birthday party. You don't get one at 365 days a year. Yeah. You get one when you're there. And I know it's different, but and your parents were all Baylor, so when you got the opportunity, you were coming to Baylor.
I was coming.
So you were coming to Baylor, but even still, you had to come here and look and decide, like, is this me, right?
Yeah. I think that's one thing that I see through parents, even on visits. It's like, okay, well, let's get around the girls. Like, I want to see how they're interacting. I want to see the team. For me, I think it's hard to watch athletes go through this recruiting process and say, oh, well, what kind of NIL are you doing? I'm like, you're missing the whole point. Like, you're here learning how to live on your own for the first time. You're here going to class. You're here meeting new people. You're here traveling with these girls. Like, there are just so many other things to college athletics that you don't see when you're going through those steps. And you said it perfectly. It's not going to be a birthday party every day. Yeah. There's good and bad days in college athletics. I feel like for me, going through that process, I felt like I was at home here at Baylor, truly. Yes, having a family, but also the staff too. Baylor volleyball would not be the same without Coach Mack. And so I think that's very important to look at too when you're going through the recruiting processes, especially as much as athletes are entering the transfer portal, coaches are now jumping around too. Yeah. So is that program going to be the same if that staff leaves tomorrow? Yeah. I committed and went through my freshman year, and then both of our assistants took massive head coaching jobs at TCU and SMU, and they're both doing great. So that's something, too, you have to think about, of like your assistants are going to leave and move, and your director of ops is going to leave and move, and you have all kinds of different moving pieces.
My advice to every single person that's ever asked me my opinion on something is, don't fall in love with the assistant coach.
Yeah.
Like you better really like and respect that head coach. Yeah. Because if the head coach is good, more than likely the assistants are going to get hired because they hire good assistants. Like Coach Mack clearly hired good assistants.
Great job.
Yeah.
Coach Walker is now awesome associate head coach. Yeah. He deserves a coaching job.
And so that's why you have to okay, well, this assistant that I liked is gone, but I really like this school. I don't want to go to another one. Yeah. So I better like the head coach. That way you should never go in thinking that you're going to transfer. And I think that now a lot of people think like, well, if it doesn't work out year one, I'm going to transfer. Well, man, year one, like I do want to hear this story from you. And I'm very curious because I've heard it a lot. Like occasionally there's an Adrian Peterson that walks into a place and he's already a man, there. Yeah. Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State this year was already well beyond. Guy. But most of the time when you're a freshman and you walk in, what was it like when you walked in? Did you think like, oh, I shouldn't be a volleyball player? Like I've talked to big time pros that like they're like my first day of my freshman year is like I don't know if I want to play football because these are adults now. Like this guy's 23. He's already got his degree. He knows about insurance and things like that. And like here I am like, hey. So I see we get free Chick-fil-A.
Right, yeah. You definitely, you walk into, I walked into the gym with Hannah Locken and Yassiana Presley, ABCA National Player of the Year, coming off of that Final Four high in 19. So I walked into a gym and I was like, I need a helmet. because Yassiana Presley is coming up over, and she's now married. I don't know her last name, but like she's coming up over that net.
She's like 7, 8 inches taller than you.
Oh yeah, I mean, she's large, and that ball is coming fast at my face. And I thought I wanted to play volleyball. Maybe I don't anymore. Just walking that gym. That's one thing that I think everyone, your freshman year, is just the speed of the game. You think you know it, you think it's fast, and then you get to college and it's drastically different. And I think too, like I was 17 playing with girls that are 21, 22. And now with all of this extra eligibility, COVID year, medical red shirt, whatever, you have girls that are in this for way longer, 6, 7 years. And so you have these baby freshmen. You have to almost redshirt now because you're going to get your head blown off if you don't. That's why you see girls, I graduated high school early and came in because you need that semester to get adjusted, trained, to also have that summer right before you get into season. I can't imagine, for me personally, not graduating high school early and coming in because I got so many touches, so much experience. You have a lot of girls change positions too. I was a setter my entire career and then changed to a DS libero. So I had a new learning curve there of how to learn how to serve receive. And there's so many different things that you just don't realize when you're walking into that new gym as a freshman, eyes wide open. I feel like even my junior year, just with changes, girls coming in and out, I was like, okay, like we're still growing, you're still learning, the game is still changing. To have that mindset your whole career, if you're still learning, you're not the best, I think is wise.
I remember talking to a tennis pro one time, and I asked him, like, they were having a JUCO tournament at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, and I was like, okay, can I beat any of these guys? He's like, yeah, you can beat a lot of them. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, look, he's like, a lot of these parents, like, they're mad about, like, oh, my kid didn't get recruited to come play at A&M. And, like, they won 3 national titles. Like, you think so you can watch, like, that guy across, and you think, like, oh, I'm better than that guy. No, you can think, like, I'd like to try and beat that guy.
Right.
But the minute before you've even played them, you think, oh, I'm better than that. Like, no. I think you're wrong. I remember here's when my college football dream died. We went my junior year. It took a bunch of us up because I was in Florida. They took us up to UCF because Bowling Green was playing UCF. And I think they were in the same conference then. That's how things have changed. But 2 of our ex-teammates, they were twin brothers, and they were playing for Bowling Green. So we were like, okay, because you can go and you can take. So we went up there to see them play. It was really exciting. Our coaches took us. And Dante Culpepper was the quarterback for UCF at the time. And Dante Culpepper is all of 6'6", 250.
Right.
And he was huge. And I remember looking and going, wait, if that's the quarterback in this game and I'm a guard, like, that's it. Dream's dead. I'm like sitting there in the Citrus Bowl in Orlando going, well, it had to end sometime. My dream ends now. I'm going to enjoy senior year. That's all. I don't have to think about, like, oh, what if I, maybe I could play somewhere. Like, you have that in your head. And, of course, I was a junior and no one sent me a letter yet. But, again, you're high school and you're naive. You're thinking, look, my time's coming. I'll start next year. Then they'll be like, oh, got to have them here at Florida State. We love 5'7" guards that run a 5'2". That's why we've won so much.
That's funny. I worked in FCA camp last weekend, and we have some of the football guys come out. A lot of Baylor athletes are there, some UMHB athletes as well. And one of Michael Allen, who's on the football team, great guy, not very big, 5'10", 5'11". And one of the campers came up to him and was like, hey, so are you, like, on the team? And he was like, yeah. And he's like, okay, well, I was worried about my height or whatever. And he was like, dude, as long as you got the intangibles and all the things that people aren't looking for on a stat sheet, you can wiggle your way in there. And same thing kind of happened for me. I was a setter my whole career. I'm 5'6". You're not going to have a 5'6" setter up in the front row running a 5'1". That's just not smart by a college coach. I knew that, but I was like, let me see if I can give this a shot. And I switched positions when I got to Baylor because Coach Mack was like, love you, you're great, love everything that comes with you, but you're not going to set for me. And so it's like, okay, like, how am I going to play at the next level and achieve this dream? I'm going to switch positions and be really humbled and hate volleyball for a little bit.
Well, I like football. I've seen many football. Garrett, how many football guys have you seen careers derailed because they're convinced they're a quarterback.
Too many.
Like, okay, look, you're an athlete.
Yeah.
But are you a quarterback?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Well, you can play this sport. There's lots of other positions, whatever it is. Like I've like baseball guys are like, oh no, I'm a pitcher. I can throw 95. All right, but where does it go? Like, does it like it has to go here, like on the plate? It has to go there. You know. Oh, I'm a point guard. Like, are you? Can you pass? Can you pass? Or you just like having the ball first?
Right.
Like that's like those are the things. Like, you know, the point guard has to pass.
Yeah.
So like, you know, it's nice if they score and do all those things, but you know, you might be a shooting guard. Also a fun position. That's the point guard goes, hey, I mean, pass to you. But you know, I've seen guys at Baylor that are like, no, I'm the point guard, and then like okay. The coach is like, look, we love you, but you're definitely not a point guard.
Yeah.
You actually might be a small forward and do really well at that. And then when they get to their third school and they're like, okay, I guess I'll have to play small forward because every coach is telling me I'm not a point guard.
Yeah, everyone, coaches talk too. You know, like they get it. They see 15-year-old Faith was a lot different than 18, 19-year-old Faith too. And so Coach Matt can see that, especially with girls too. Like, I'm not going to grow anymore. You know, with guys, maybe I'll get an inch or two out of you in college, but with girls, that's just not going to happen. And so being real with yourself is very helpful sometimes in your college career.
Well, yeah, I mean, sports, you have you can get humbled out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can watch the film. I'm sure like there are times where like, oh, I think we're going to kick this team's ass. Like we're going to drill them. And then you get out there and for whatever reason, like they're fired up and you're not. And then you get humbled and you're like, okay, well, you know, knowing that at any moment your confidence can go from 100 to 0 and then back up again is the key, I think, to making it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, throughout most things in life, but particularly in sports, because you guys play on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Yeah. Like, if the Tuesday game doesn't go well, you got Saturday or Sunday, like whenever that game is, you know, to make it right again. So that's why it has to do that. But, yeah, that Tuesday, like, you have to get over it real fast. And the ones who make it are the ones who are like, all right, well, we can be mad for an hour, and then let's move on with our lives. You know,
having that goldfish memory.
Yeah,
you know, the
goldfish,
amnesia, goldfish memory, amnesia, whatever you got to tell yourself to move on. Because we ran into that my junior year. We had to play teams back to back, like at Texas Friday, Saturday. No one wants to do that. You know, like that's miserable. And so losing Friday in a 5-set match, you're gassed for Saturday. And so really having to be able to switch that on and off of like, okay, whatever happened last night. They're going to be a different team. They're also tired. They're also exhausted. Being able to figure something out. They're not going to change drastically from what they did the night before, you know? So no one's going to grow. No one's going to shrink. Whatever. They're not going to change their game plan too much because it just worked. So just being able to figure that out. And, thankful the Big 12 decided to not do that this year because
although Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, that's miserable. No one wants to do that. You know, like on those trips. I mean, we're in Utah now for 5 days, which is fine. But
ask the NBA how they fought that really hard. Where
it's just not smart.
Yeah,
it's not safe. It's not for athletes, especially I don't know for girls. Like ACLs are big in volleyball, whatever. And you have these girls playing in these 5-set matches the whole time, 6-row outside. You want her to do the same thing the next day? That's just not smart for your body. And she's a sophomore. Like her arm's gonna fall off. You know, like it's just not safe to be honest.
Well, I mean, you can play, and it's not like practice where you guys will play 10 sets and stop and like work on things and rest.
Yeah.
Like it's 10 sets over 2 days of you are absolutely pushing yourself to the physical brink. At practice, you at least you hit the accelerator, but you don't stay on the accelerator. You just want to see how fast the car will go, but you don't leave it going, right? Another thing, and then we're going to talk about Super Bowl. We're going to talk about a lot of other sports here because I want the people to get to know you. But John Cook at Nebraska, right? He legendary. They got to build a statue of this guy. They sold out the football stadium for a volleyball game.
Insane.
Because it's such a big deal up there. He retired.
Yes.
Kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So your just thoughts about what the legacy he leaves that sport, and then it's gonna. You think the coach at Louisville's gonna
She'll
pretty
be
much
great.
a lock.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it got announced today.
Okay.
I think it was announced last night. John Cook retired,
Yeah.
and then DBK at Louisville is going to take over that position. Two iconic places to play volleyball are Nebraska and Wisconsin. I mean, it's unreal up there. It's like football for them. Really cool to be able to play in atmospheres like that. But John Cook, I mean, he's the guy. You know, you have all these monumental football coaches. Well, that's what John Cook is for volleyball. And so
He's
see
like the Saban of volleyball.
Oh, yeah, he really is. Him, and then like Crawley is the USA head coach. He's up there with him. Like he's just, his staff is amazing. I think too, what people just don't think about is like, yes, he's a great volleyball coach, but I think the way his team reacts around each other and the way you can just see how connected they are in their personal lives on social media, I think speaks to John Cook of how he wants to create that environment as well. Coach Mack's trying to do the same thing for Baylor volleyball and he's done a great job. But yeah, it was crazy to think that he's done with that chapter, closing it. I'm excited for DBK to come and do her thing. Cool story there. She played at Nebraska and then coached under him in 2015, won the title. So I think it's really special for her to also to go back to her alma mater and just lost the national championship again this year to a second time within 3 years to be there for her. Just two iconic people in the volleyball world. I'm like, when I saw he was retiring, I was like, oh my gosh, who is going to take that job? And then DBK, I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. Like, those girls are going to be fine.
Yeah,
so.
Wisconsin, Penn State, Texas, great at volleyball. I mean, you played them, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Penn State, like that's like
just one.
when you think about the kind of like programs that have embraced the sport and like really good. Yeah, Karch Karai, I grew up watching him in the Olympics.
Yeah,
he's awesome. Yeah, he was. I don't even know him as a coach. I just know him as a
player,
as a cool ass beach volleyball player.
Yeah. Same with John. I mean, he like had a great career. And I think it's cool that he's been at Nebraska for a very long time as well. That just says like how long he's built that program up, and just put a lot of years in there. And I mean, like him and Russ Rose, he goes in that category of those top tier coaches, like you just said. But.
Yeah. So. Maybe one day Florida State will be great at volleyball. They're always, when I was at, they've always been good. They're just like, that's kind of how like a lot of the sport programs work there. Like they're always good. Like I just want to win titles and everything. I'm just saying that like you just want and sports like I don't watch or like softball. Like not that I didn't care, but like when they're excellent at softball, they're awesome at soccer. Yeah. Believe me, I will talk trash about soccer and softball now because football's too intense. So I gotta cling to what I can. I'll get fired up. I'll get fired up for that. So give me a volleyball, give me a national title in any sport. If we have a bowling team, if we won the national title, I'll buy an effigy like national champ, son. Yeah. And I promise you, at Florida State, that bowling team drinks a lot. Yeah.